Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Filter. For this episode, I am really focusing on something a little bit more emotional. I'm focusing on something more personal to me, kind of sharing my outlook on specifically the four walls of ministry when it comes to what happens when your brother and sister falls, the response from people within the ministry, how in my perspective that has changed completely my outlook on a lot of things, how it's changed the way I act, it's changed the way I see and view the people within the church. So I wanted to share that part of kind of my testimony after so many trials and tribulations within ministry, and this recent one that really changed my outlook on everything. And I thought that I would share that because I think it really marked my life in the way that it made me see a lot of flaws that I never got to see before. And it made me realize a lot of the reason why so many young people leave church, why so many young people think that it's best to leave, because within those four walls, within ministry, within the church, they see so much hypocrisy. They see so much fakeness from leaders, from pastors, from their mentors, and it's real. It's a real thing. And I think that it's a two-parter, because this episode is not to shame, it's not to call out, but it's more to bring a light and put a spotlight on the matter and seeing it, from both sides. Because I think that just as the one that's hurt by the leader, there is a leader that's also maybe hurt by the disciple, by the person that's under them. And maybe there's misunderstandings, there's things that we're not really seeing. And I think that I'm going to share my part on kind of both sides of that. So, well, first of all, I just want to say that these past couple of years in my life have been the most difficult, where I've seen God move in many wonderful ways, but I've seen a lot of how the enemy works, within ministry. I've seen a lot of how hurt can start, how offense can start. And I am the first to say that I've been offended so many times in church. I think that after all my years serving and after even giving my life to Christ at the age of 16, I have been hurt and offended many times by my mentors, by my leaders, by a pastor, by whoever. I've just been really focused on not letting it get to me, because I do know that I'm here for God, and I've always had that very clear in my mind. I know that's not the case for everybody, but personally that was my case. I was very focused on why I was here, who I was serving, and who I was looking at, and it was Jesus. And thankfully that never allowed for hurt and pain caused by others and offense dictate my future, right? Or my next steps moving forward. I think that what always dictated that was my love for Jesus and my passion for the church and for the souls. So, but I realized that's not the case for everybody. And I've been able to see in all these years how people come and go, come and go, come and go. And I never really understood the kind of the whole picture of it. I always thought that it was the people that left that misunderstood. I thought it was always the people that left offended, that they were wrong because they left offended. And I'm not saying that you're right because you left offended. I think that's never the right answer, to leave anywhere offended, to leave from a place where God placed you, if that's what you believe, to another place because you were offended and because you were hurt by those people. I think that when it's the time to leave somewhere that God placed you, it's going to be perfect timing. It's going to be a moment where you're good with everybody, where you're being sent out. Nonetheless, I do believe that feelings are valid. And I think that after this process in my life, I was able to see that there's so much more that we can do as a church to avoid these situations, to avoid people leaving hurt, to avoid people leaving in pain, to avoid offending people. And I speak from a leader's point of view, and I speak from a sheep's point of view. Like, I have been both, and I've taken it on both sides. I've been a leader and I've seen others leave offended. I've offended people, and I have been at the level where I have been the one that wanted to leave. I got to a point in my life these past couple of years that I made the decision, where that I was going to leave the place where God had placed me, and it hurt my soul because it was sad to me that I felt that I had to leave because I wasn't being treated how I believed that I should have been treated, right? And again, I'm sharing my experience. I felt that because of the things that had happened in my life, because I had made wrong decisions, because I had gone to a point that I had fallen, and I had as a leader, I was put into a place of a lot of things. And when I thought that I had the support that others claimed to give me when I needed it the most, I didn't have anybody. I think I felt exiled. I felt a lot of things that I always want to emphasize that, when you go through certain things and you go through a place where you made wrong decisions and, you fell into sin, consequences will come, right? But you never expect those consequences to come from the people that are supposed to love you, right? You never expect those to come from the people that you thought would lift you up or the ones that are bringing you most down. That when you thought you had leaders around you, right, that you have served for years with, that would be the first to lift you up, they're the first to completely exile you, are the first to completely go off grid, literally. And I think that's the part where I understood the place where others are put, where leaders disappoint. And it's a very real topic to talk about because not a lot of people talk about this. Not a lot of people talk about their experiences with leaders as a leader when you're put into when you're put in the opposite, right? And it really put a spotlight on the condition of our hearts as children of God, as leaders of a church, as leaders of a congregation, as leaders of a ministry, as leaders in the body of Christ, whatever the position may be. Having influence means something. And when you make wrong decisions with those around you, those decisions, you don't know what it's costing. And it really made me see how we need to examine our hearts no matter where we are in our walk with Jesus. Because one person is falling and is a hurt soldier, and you have somebody else that is a strong soldier in that moment, but the condition of the heart and the way that good soldier, that soldier that is standing up, is looking at the fallen soldier as if they're less than them for their condition. They see them unworthy of the good soldier going and picking them up and taking them. And I think we as a church suffer of taking pride in not being the hurt soldier. And I don't think that's the right attitude to take. I think that if you're a good soldier, you're supposed to stand in the gap for hurt soldiers. You're supposed to lift up those hurt soldiers and take them across the field to where they can be treated. And I don't think that we do that as a church. I think that we're so focused on the four walls, and we're so focused on getting new titles, and we're so focused on being looked good, that we forget about those around us that are probably going through a very hard process in their life. But because their process is hard, visibly, we see them less. We see them unworthy because we don't agree with the actions that they took, because we think that we are so good and so holy that we forget where God took us out of. I mean, if when we look at the condition of the heart of our hearts, we really see where we are really not pleasing the Lord. What is the point? What's the point of us being so good in the eyes of others? And we're here and we're preaching and we're casting out demons and we're doing all of this. We have so and so disciples, so and so people under us. But the main thing that we're supposed to have for others, which is love, we don't have. Or we have a selective love, a love where we select who we love. I will love you because you seem good. I will love you because you haven't fallen in the eyes of others. I'm gonna love you because I like you, but I'm not gonna love you because I don't agree with you. I don't agree with what you've done. I think you got to a place that I just don't agree with. So we decide to stop loving. I mean, it sounds very funny, but it's real. It's real, and I lived it. And it really made me see the person that I do not want to be and the person that I had been. It made me stop and decide who will I continue to be moving forward. After my process, I went through a lot of healing. I went through a lot of molding. But I really went through a process where God allowed me to see the hearts of other people. And God really allowed me to see the heart of the church and the condition of the leaders within the church. And it's not okay that we are working within the four walls of ministry, and it's amazing to do that. You know, we know our calling, we know why we're here, but it's not okay that we do that and we're focused on that, and we have so many people that have left hurt that had been under our care, and we don't take a moment to reach out to those people and ask them if they're okay. If you're a leader, do you take a moment to reach out to those people that have left, that were under your care, that you know that left in not the best of situations? Though you didn't agree with them, though you didn't like them, did you take a moment to reach out to them? As a leader, do you not think that you should be doing that? Checking up on the people that were hurt, that were offended. Why is it that because they were offended and because they left, they are no longer worthy of your follow-up? Because they're not looking for you first? Because they're not attending church? We have so many sheep that have left church because they're hurt, and now they think that that is who God is by the way that we act. We represent Jesus on this earth. People that don't have a personal relationship with Jesus to a mature level view Jesus the way they view us. So what they see in us, they see Jesus. They believe that how we are is how Jesus is, because that's how it's supposed to be. But in reality, it's not, because we're not perfect, and we get that and we understand that. But when you take somebody that doesn't have a mature relationship with God and the Holy Spirit, you see that we are what they see as Jesus. And we need to understand that. But once something happens and they leave, then you feel, or we feel, that we no longer have to follow up with those people. Why? Because they're not looking for us first? Because, they're going through the process. I have to let them. Yes, we do have to let them, but we don't have to stop showing them love. We need to reach out to the people. We need to see the people that are hurt in the church, the people that have fallen. Oh, but I serve and I'm this, and who cares? It doesn't matter how much you serve. It doesn't matter how much you are on that altar. You're serving the people of God. Are you loving them the way that you're supposed to? Are you showing love to the hurt soldier that is right next to you? Listen, after I went through my process and after I fell, I took a time where I tried to reach out to those people that had gone through the same thing after me. And I saw, and I took a time to reach out to these people and try to offer anything I could because I knew what they were going through. And if you would have taken the Kim from 5 years ago, I would have easily misjudged them. I would have easily not spoken to them because why? Because it's frowned upon. Nobody understands what it is to fall in sin while being a leader, and it made public until you go through that yourself. When your sin is exposed to the entire congregation, you don't know what that's like until you live it. You don't know what that's like until you walk through those doors and you know that everybody knows about your situation and everybody knows what you're going through. And it's visibly evident. Nobody knows the feeling but somebody that has gone through that. And when you go through that, that humbles you in spirit to a level that I am now so grateful to be humbled in. I'm so grateful to be humbled in so many areas of my life after my processes. I'm so grateful that I was humbled, because now when I see the conditions of others, I know that I can help them, and I do it with love, not with feeling superior to them, not with feeling like I'm more or I'm better. No, feeling like I was there and now I'm going to help you because I know that you can get up just as I got up. Understanding and recognizing that we're all human beings and nobody is exempt from falling. If you are the biggest leader, the best, most strongest leader, you are not exempt from falling. You are no better than the one who fell. You are no better. Listening to gossip of others who fell, that is bringing down a hurt soldier more than they already are. Are you listening to the gossip of other people? Are you listening to the gossip of your brother or sister who fell and their sin was made public? Or are you trying to help them up and shut the mouths of other people? It is not easy to be exposed in front of many, many people. And knowing that you're in the mouths of other people, that's a hard place to be. It's a very difficult place to be. And if you don't know God, you're never going to get up from there. It's only with the strength of the Lord that we are able to get up from the lowest places of our lives. But how much easier would it be if our brothers and sisters would help us get up? How much easier would that be? If we're not being constantly brought down by the people that are supposed to lift us up, how much easier would it be if we would take a moment to look on our side and see the person that is right in front of us and help them get up from the place they are in? But because they're not standing in an altar, they're not worthy. That's a wrong state of heart to be in. I think that we need to take a moment to ask for forgiveness for not being the people that God is calling us to be. When did Jesus ever show himself to be more than anyone else? When did he ever make himself more? We are all unworthy of mercy and grace. We are. And when you have that understanding, when you come in recognition of the mercy of God, because you've lived his mercy to such a level, it really humbles you. It really makes you see everybody the same. If there's something that I have learned, and I'm so grateful this year that I was able to learn this, is that nobody is exempt from anything. I'm grateful that I have been through the processes that I have been through. I'm grateful that I was taught the lessons that God taught me. I'm so grateful for the pain that I went through. I'm so grateful for being at the lowest point of my life where I had no one, where all those friends that I thought that I had were nowhere to be found, where the leaders that I thought that I had were nowhere to be found. I'm so grateful that I was at that point, because I met a God in my loneliest time. I met a God full of mercy, of grace, and love. And I was able to see the condition of my heart. And I was able to examine my heart and bring it before him. I'm grateful that I was so humbled in spirit before the Lord, that he was able to change things in me. But I had to be brought down from him for him to change me. I had to be brought down for him to change me. But it wasn't necessary. I just had to be brought down. So leaders, take a moment to examine your heart and see if maybe you're acting the right way with those that are under you, or even those that are at the same level as you. And for those that have been hurt, I want to look at it from the other point of view. Those that have been put in that position, whether you're a leader or whether you're not a leader, whether you were one, whether you weren't one. If you were put in a place where you were hurt by the people within the church, you were hurt by your leaders, you were hurt by your mentors, you were hurt by your co-disciples or those that were around you in the church. If you were hurt and you found those reasons, good enough reasons for you to leave the church where you were at, or to leave God, to leave the relationship that you had with God, and maybe lower it down. Maybe you left your calling. You said, I don't want anything to do with my calling, because if this is what it takes, I don't want anything to do with it. If that's you, if you saw God, if you know what God does, you know who he is, but you still decided willingly to leave because of so-and-so reason, I want to tell you that I completely understand you. I understand you. I was there. Me and my husband, after the most painful time of our lives, or during, when we felt the most alone that we have ever felt in our lives, that I've ever felt in my life, me and my husband took a time to sit and actually talk seriously about the possibilities of leaving the church that we were at. And we had made a decision. After thinking about it, after praying about it, from a place of pain, we decided that we were going to leave. And it was a decision that was made. It was completely made. And we had even spoken to our families. We had made the decision, and we felt good about it. But from one day to the next, it just didn't happen. From one day to the next, I felt in me a strong pull towards do better, be what no one expects you to be in this moment. And I decided to do that. I decided to stay despite of. I decided to stay because I knew where God had placed me, and nothing and no one was going to change that. Because God had established me here since I was 10. And if you think a couple of mouths were going to take me out of where God had placed me, you're completely wrong. That's literally what I thought in that moment. I stopped and I said, I will be the difference. When everyone expects me to leave and run, I will stay, show up with my head held high, and I will go through whatever God needs me to go through in this moment. I went through shame. I went through guilt. I went through being completely exposed in ways that you should never be exposed. When you're at your lowest, most vulnerable and weakest point, to be exposed can be a very traumatizing experience. And I was going through so many things. I was pregnant. I was going through many, many feelings in the spiritual, in the natural. And I look at it now and I don't understand how I could do that. I now understand that it was the strength of the Lord in me. And the God that I knew was the reason why I was able to stand up and face all of my problems in that moment. But I did it because I wasn't going to allow situations, offenses, gossip to stop what the Lord has started in me at the age of 16 when I gave my life to Him. That wasn't going to stop what the Lord had started to accelerate in my life years ago. I knew that this was the enemy trying to bring me out and bring me to a lower point than I already was. And though I had made many mistakes, I understood that if I love my God enough, I can get out of this place, of this hole that I'm in. And though my faith was very low, if your faith is as big as a mustard seed, that's all that it takes. And I understood that, and I took that, and I stood up, and I faced everything. And I was judged for it. I really was. Because you're wrong if you do, you're wrong if you don't. But I didn't care. I've never been the one to care about what people think, what people say. It was more of in like, it's sad that those who you would expect to bring you up are the ones that are bringing you down the most. And I say this because I know what it feels like to want to run away. I know what it feels like to want to leave everything, because what's the point? Why am I here? I don't want to be in a place where all that people do is talk about each other. All that people do is backstab each other. You can't trust anyone. I know that feeling. I know the feeling. But there needs to be a point where you draw the line between people and God. God is not that. God is a God that you have to live yourself to be able to understand and have the maturity to say, I will not allow for this to dictate my relationship with God, to dictate the calling that I know that I have. And I'm sorry that you went through hurt in the church. I'm sorry that you went through pain in the church. I'm sorry if the church was not nice to you. I'm sorry if the church was a bad example of Jesus to you, but you know that's not who Jesus is. If you lived Him enough, you know that's not who He is. But it's okay that you decided to leave and run away. It's okay. But I think it's never too late to take a moment and think about what to do moving forward. I think that nothing is worth the calling that we have over our lives and giving it up for the sake of other people. Nothing is worth that. And if you are called for ministry, I think you know that ministry is messy. Ministry is one of the messiest things that ministry deserves a reality show. It really does. Because ministry is just, can be so, so, so messy. Ministry is a place where you get most offended. Ministry is a place where you feel most stupid. You feel most brought down, maybe. Lifted up, then brought down, then lifted up, then brought down. Where you feel like, what's the point? Where you see the ugliest side of leaders that nobody else gets to see but the people in ministry. But ministry takes a level of maturity to endure and pass. But many people don't endure it and they don't pass. They leave because they saw the ugly that they were not ready to see. But if you're called to ministry, you can't run away from that. You need to have the grace. You need to extend the grace to people. But that is only given to you by God. We need to extend the grace to our leaders, to those that are above us that we maybe not agree with. Extend the grace in understanding and recognizing that everybody is going through their own process. When you're a leader, your processes are exposed. It's not easy to be in that place because your imperfections will be pointed out. Your imperfections, your flaws will be pointed out. It's not easy to be in that place where you're constantly looked at for perfection. You're constantly looked at and people need perfection to come out of you for them to feel safe and steady. And it's understandable because we're supposed to look at our leaders and see stability. That's what we look for. I'm sure that's what Jesus' disciples looked for in him, stability, insurance. They didn't see him when he was in Gethsemane crying. They didn't see the Jesus that was scared. Those were alone times that he lived, but when he was with them, he showed security. He showed faith. He showed strength. But it's not easy being put in that place as a human being. I'm talking about Jesus, but he was perfect. We have to look at now the human being that is 100% man and mortal. It's not easy. It's hard. We need to extend the grace to our leaders and to those that are above us and understand that they're human beings too. That they go through their things and it's not easy for their things to be exposed in front of other people. And though we may not agree with what they do, what they say, how they act, extend the grace. If God has called you to a place, extend the grace. Stop running away from your calling because you don't like the church. Because you don't like ministry life. Because ministry life hurt you. Because the church hurt you. Stop running away. Unfortunately, ministry is messy. Ministry is hard. Ministry is difficult. Dealing with the people of God is not easy. It's difficult. Dealing with our brothers and sisters in ministry is difficult. It's hard. We see the ugly. But it's so beautiful to be molded in that area. It's so beautiful to be molded in the midst of you ministering to the people and you see what happens behind closed doors. You see the trouble that we go through for the service to be fulfilled for the people of God. When you go through that, seeing the beautiful part of ministry, it's worth it. But you have to see the ugly. You have to see the ugly. You have to see the ugly in people, the weakness in people. Are you going to keep running away because you don't want to see that? You can't run away from the calling that God has placed over you. I wanted to share this because I think that it's not talked about enough, the experiences that both leader and disciple can go through. And even as maybe the government of a ministry in your church, being in leadership and those leaders around you, it's not easy living that life. It can be very lonely. It can be very, very painful. And I'm so glad that God has given me the strength to endure all of this, and because I know that I was made for ministry. I know that I was made for it. And the strength that we have and God gives us for the mission is amazing. But it's real. The life of it, the realness, the rawness, the pain of it is real. And not many people understand that. Not many people understand what it takes, the sacrifices that it takes, the cost that it takes. Especially when you've been brought down publicly. It's not easy. It's not easy being exposed as a leader. And it's not easy being the one that is exposed. It's not easy. So I think that we need to extend grace. Extend grace. If you don't understand, if you don't agree, extend grace. We are no better than anyone else. What are you doing though? What are you doing? To better what you believe is wrong, what are you doing to it? What are you doing for it? We need to have more love of God in our hearts. Not just towards our co-leader, but to the hurt soldiers that were maybe once in that position. Extend grace. God is a God of grace and mercy. And if he showed grace to us, what makes us better to not show grace to others? It's completely irrational. I made a promise to myself, to my relationship with God, to God, that I will take this experience in my life and I will be better. That after I got up and dusted myself off and healed myself and allowed for God to heal me, that I will be better, that I will act better, that I will show the grace of God as best as I can. And though I am still a work in progress, because we all are, I will be better in showing mercy, in looking at others, in giving importance to others, not just to co-leaders, not just to the world that is in my head, but the reality that we live in within the church, the reality of the sheep, the reality of the young people that are hurting because they're hurt, the reality of young people that are hurting because their church hurt and they have left the ways of the Lord. They have left their calling. They have left their purpose because they were hurt by us. We need to be better. We need to do better. And that's what I wanted to focus on in this episode. We need to be the restoration for others. We need to help others' restoration. We cannot sit back in the benches and wait for others to be restored. We need to help restore others. We need to help restore others. You can't sit and watch your brother and sister hurt on the floor dying because that's not your problem. If the body of Christ is hurt, it is your problem. We need to do better as leaders and as sheep. We need to be better. We need to extend grace to our leaders, and we need to extend grace as leaders. So this was a short one, and I really hope that I was able to really speak my heart on this and what I feel that God has been ministering to me in this season of my life. And I'm so thankful. I give all the glory to God because he's so good. In the middle of our processes, he's so good. So right now I just pray that whoever is listening to me, whoever is listening to the sound of my voice, whatever process you're going through, whatever side of the of that what we were just speaking on you are, I just ask that you extend grace to others, despite of your situation, despite of your feelings, you just extend grace. And I pray that you receive something from this. I pray that the Holy Spirit ministers something to your life that makes you want to examine yourself before moving forward. And God, I ask that you help us each and every day act like Jesus, be like Jesus, love like Jesus, be the church that Jesus is looking for us to be. That when he comes back for us, that he sees a church that is maybe just a little bit worthy. So I bless all of you guys. I thank you for watching this episode, and I hope you stick around for the next one. Bye, guys.